What's going on there, guys? Good evening. It's the Earthmaster here on the live stream on this beautiful Wednesday night, August 10th, 2022 date. It is about 8:34 p.m. California time. Latest quake shows a 2.3 earthquake here on the globe, right around the northern Italy area, according to the EMSC model here. 2.3 striking just a short time ago at about 10 kilometers deep for that earthquake. All right, looking at the rest of the map here across the flat scale model, still haven't seen any major uptick in movement here to the west, kind of at a neutral standpoint right now. Far as the plate tectonics go, we're not seeing any major movement here across the western Pacific. Up here off the coast of Japan, we are seeing a little bit of swarming kicking up though. Into the Japan region, where we've seen a couple upper fours and even a 5.1 earlier this afternoon. So things could be getting ready to heat up pretty nicely across this area of Japan. Might want to watch that area pretty closely. A little spotty activity, some older movement down south here around the Vanuatu area. The latest quake, at least in this area, looks like earlier this afternoon time frame, we've seen a 4.5. Look at the depth of this earthquake here. Once we see deep earthquakes like this, way down there, I'm talking 623 kilometers deep. That is deep, and that's very typical though for this region. But once we see this type of activity start to brew up, we can expect some major adjustment up here along this area of the Pacific Ring of Fire. So watch for that pretty closely. Also, this deeper earthquake movement does tend to apply stress upstream around the subduction zone itself. Tonga Trench, Kermadec Islands, areas around New Zealand. So watch those areas pretty closely. But we haven't seen any further activity following that it's super deep, 4.5, 623 kilometers earlier this afternoon. South America, not a whole lot going on across the Chile area. Looks like we had one recent earthquake, a 4.9, about 43 kilometers there into the subduction zone of the Peru-Chile Trench. Prior to that, some older movement, it looks like earlier this morning, well deep into that region, 4.4. Again, kind of gives you the kind of a little indicator of what takes place here at subduction zones. A lot of times we see deeper movement, subsequently and sometimes quickly followed up by much larger surface activity. But in this case, it took a little while and is not much larger for that 4.9 that struck upstream from that deeper earthquake activity this morning. Puerto Rico Trench, a little spotty activity. One earthquake here. Around the U.S. Virgin Islands region, looks like that's east of Puerto Rico there, the latest quake on the map. Aside from that, typical swarming kicking off here around the southwestern portion of Puerto Rico throughout the afternoon. Nothing going on across the Atlantic. We did have a South Sandwich Islands earthquake this morning, 5.1, but nothing further following that activity. All right, West Coast. Not a whole lot throughout the Pacific Northwest. The latest quake shows a earthquake outside of the Idaho Falls region. Excuse me. Been out in the garden with Missy Mimi's today. We had an aphid infestation here, so we had to pull a whole bunch of the garden today, and I'm kind of recovering from that. It was quite the workout, let me tell you, out there in the 90-degree heat. What else we got? Okay, so a little activity outside of Idaho Falls. Some movement throughout the west coast here, mainly along some specific areas. It looks like right around the Macama Fault up here north of Ukiah. Getting in on a little swarm of activity around this region. Looks like the largest so far, 2.4. A little spotty activity as we go down through the Green Valley Fault and into the Calaveras Fault zone. Seen a couple small earthquakes, a couple small little microquakes, I should say. And far as the swarming goes along the San Andreas Fault, this little creeping section, most of it looks pretty quiet for now. We did have some activity earlier this afternoon and the morning time frame, but nothing spectacular going on. But things starting to fill in, starting to look a little normal in terms of the major areas out here, including Ridgecrest and the San Jacinto Fault Zone. This looks very typical for California standards in terms of earthquake activity. No major swarms to report down here. A little activity south of Brawley, but overall, things just, as I mentioned there, very typical. And if you look across the rest of the country, not a whole lot whatsoever, folks. Big Island. Oh, don't you even start, hiccups. South of the Mauna Loa area around Pahala, getting looks a little more active today than the past couple days out there. Some microquakes kicking off, including a couple earthquakes out around the Loihi Seamount, but nothing major kicking off here across the region. Let's check out Yellowstone National Park real quick. As you can see, it looks like there is the earthquake in the Idaho Falls region showing up on the Yellowstone station. Again, that is going to be a 3 or 2.7. A little distant from Yellowstone, right around the Grand Teton region, it looks like. But again, that earthquake activity definitely showing up here across the certain sections of the park, including down here in the Moose Creek region of Idaho. 2.7. But aside from that, no major earthquakes, no magma movement, no doom and gloom tonight, folks. Not from this channel, anyway. Everything looks pretty calm and clear. All right. Oh, yeah, tremor map. Let's check this out tonight. I know 224. Look at that. Pretty good uptick. About the same as last night. A little bit less, but it's more spread out. We've noticed a little migration of the tremor over the past couple days. It seems it's worked its way from the north down to the southern segment of the Cascadia. Tonight we have a little bit of activity underneath Northern California at the very extreme southern end. So this area definitely under quite a bit of strain here, producing that tremor on a pretty broad scale area from northern part down to the southern area of the Cascadia. All right, what else we got? I was going to talk about some volcanoes tonight. We're going to look at, you know, basically the volcanoes along the west coast, Pacific Northwest, all green and no heightened activity. So we're just going to pick a couple of these tonight, a couple of these GPS station monitors, and see what we got far as any uptick and whatnot in activity across the board. This is Mount Shasta, far as vertical uplift and whatnot goes. It goes through a little series, it seems like. Although I don't like this one. It looks a little on the odd side. Let me see if we got a little bit better station out here. I'm really surprised we don't have anything specifically at the very summit of Mount Shasta. Yeah, definitely a little bit... well, I don't know. I don't know why they don't have anything up there. Okay, so looking at the GPS measurements here of the Mount Shasta area, this shows a gradual east movement here. It shows a gradual downtrend, and north trend looks like it is trending down as well. The one that I like to watch is the vertical displacement. That's the uptrend of the earthquakes and the not earthquakes, but the GPS movement. And if you notice here, look at Mount Shasta taking a little turn up here. See that towards 2022? Throughout the years, everything's been pretty consistent with the up and down motion here in terms of vertical displacement. But about 2022, look at that, starting to uptrend a little bit. With that vertical displacement there. This last line, this last couple lines here, you guys see that showing a little bit of uptrend. So we're going to watch that pretty closely. Again, this station right here is at the, let's see exactly where this is at. This is going to be station 657, which I believe is, where'd it go here? There's one of these guys off over here to the west. So let's check out this eastern station here and see what we got. That only goes to about 2022. Or 2020, sorry. This one here goes to about 2022. Not a whole lot of motion sensors there for the uptrend. in 2022. But there's a little spike. See that little development right there? But let me see here. I really wish there was something a little bit more in the region of the summit area. That's kind of what I like to monitor, and these just don't really impress me whatsoever. All right, so that's Mount Shasta. There is some other activity around the Mount Hoffman region. You got Medicine Lake area for volcanic activity. Let's see what we got here in 2022 for this volcanic region. Things pretty on the looks like on the downtrend. Occasionally we get these upticks, folks, but I haven't seen anything in the last couple years in this region for the Mount Shasta area. What else? What else can we check out for volcanoes? Did you guys know that south of me here in the Chico area, just south of Chico, look at that. What do you guys see in the Sacramento Valley? Big old mountain range, right? A lot of people think it's the shortest mountain range in the world. Well, it's not really a mountain range. It's a volcano, or an extinct volcano. There's actually some missile silos. I think they're defunctioned, but they were up there. It had some missile silos all set up just in case we got some attacks here along the west coast. This is a volcano, the Sutter Buttes. What do we got here? Sutter Buttes, looking at a gradual downtrend here, obviously. Although sometimes we do see these little upticks in movement here in vertical displacement, but nothing spectacular in terms of the Sutter Buttes volcano. A lot of people don't like that term. It's kind of scares them. Oh, those aren't volcanoes. That's the world's shortest mountain ranges. That's what they name them. Keep people not from being scared, you know. Let's see, Long Valley supervolcano. That's another one that's been having some swarms, right, in terms of earthquake activity. We can check out a couple of these stations here around the Long Valley. Of course, Long Valley is it's a hot spot of a lot of stuff, earthquakes and whatnot. Check out this vertical displacement here since about 2011 or so. Seen a pretty good uptrend here. This is the not any huge amount. These are very small measurements here, but there's definitely been a noticeable uptrend since about 2011 or so. Still continuing to this day. There at that area of the Long Valley supervolcano, station 639. I do like to check out other ones, and they've all pretty much been consistent in terms of that gradual uplift. Notice that since about 2011 or so. Definitely getting... Oh, where'd it go? Hold on a second here. Bring this back here. In the region, definitely showing some uptick. Did we check this one out? Either way, if you check out all of them, they all show a pretty good uptick and uplift and movement across this area. Let's see what this one is. That's a little odd looking. Of course, they got the measurement set a lot higher, so they're not going to look as advanced or as alarming, I guess is the word. There's that 2011 uptrend a little bit here, but then again, look at these millimeters. They're set in terms of they're a lot higher, so we need to bring those down a little bit for certain stations. Let's see what we got here. Again, 2011 shows a pretty good gradual uptrend. So yeah, it's you know, it's something to watch when we see that gradual uptrend. If you were to go anywhere here along the western coast here, the Cascadia is pushing this land up. Let me bring up a station here. 2022. This one here is a little off. Let me see if I can find a little bit more better station that can explain. Let's check out a little bit more inland. Yeah, where'd it go? I know this land is rising. Is this it? A couple of these stations are set up kind of just odd. But yeah, Cascadia, of course, you got to remember the subduction zone. You got the Juan de Fuca plate being shoved underneath the North American plate. And that's kind of rising up the land out there along the western portion of Oregon, Northern California, Washington region. And one day this land will drop all of a sudden with a huge release of pressure. and of course a subsequent tsunami will come in and basically come in, yeah, and make itself known. But you can see, if we were to go back in history here since about 1700, this land has been rising gradually throughout time. And just in the last few years or so, you can see the accumulated stress building up along the Cascadia with that gradual rising of the land there. So, but yeah, I kind of like this site to check out GPS movements. It's really handy, folks. I mean, GPS movements are very, very small measurements, but if you look at these graphs, it kind of gives you a good indicator of what's going on underneath the ground. Yellowstone National Park, another super volcano, right? You know, it's a little bit larger than the Long Valley super volcano. Here's a little bit of data going back about 2006. Things were rising pretty drastically there for a little bit. I remember that earthquake swarm back in 2008, towards the end of 2008. A lot of fear-mongering going on. Oh, it's gonna blow. This is the end of the world. A lot of YouTube channels, man, putting out fear, doom, and gloom. I think YouTube pulled the plug on those folks there, at least demonetized them for all that fear-mongering that was going on. But as you see, we're still here. In 2022, we haven't had any major, spectacular super volcano eruption. So these things come and go. If you look at graphs here, there's gradual uptrends and downtrends at any area around a volcano. Inflation, deflation, not the end of the world. I don't like those fear-mongering channels. It's not cool. A lot of folks are believe it and think that that's the truth, and that's not good. That's why we try to preach the truth and nothing but facts, graphs, and data from verifiable sources here. That's why I'm going to school for. That's why I'm getting a degree for. Geology, all sorts of stuff that I have to learn in order to get that degree. So this isn't just me making up stuff here. This is facts. So don't believe those fear-mongering channels. Those guys are after clickbait. So yeah, looking at Yellowstone here, gradual uptrend, downtrend. Right now we're on that downtrend through about 2022. But don't be surprised here. Looking at this graph, we should be starting to see a little bit of trending up, at least looking towards that this time frame on the graphs at Yellowstone. Let's see, what do we got here, folks? I don't want to make this a super long video. We're coming up on almost 20 minutes, so let's check out space weather real quick and see what we got going on here for the solar activity. Looking pretty minimal. Maybe a chance of a 3 to 4 KP index here, and that's kind of what we're at right now in the last couple hours, around 2. But this is going to definitely drop off, and looking at solar weather activity coming to a complete halt as far as I'm concerned right now. So we'll definitely keep an eye on it. Solar's, oh, look at this guy right here, getting a nice coronal hole opening up here. Kind of looks like a snake. Got a snake head coming up and a tail. So we'll watch this as it comes across the board. These high, or these openings here that allow solar wind stream to flow off the sun and in Earth's direction can amplify the space weather conditions here on Earth. So we'll watch this as this rotates towards our region, and that may definitely enhance the 3-day, well, at least not the 3-day, but maybe the 7-day geomagnetic forecast once that comes around. As far as solar flare activity goes, there's not a whole lot, folks. Things are kind of just creeping along a little bit is the word I'm looking for. Nothing spectacular going on. We're entering into a very quiet spell of solar weather activity. Nothing is really getting on the ball. None of these sunspots are getting on the ball when it comes to space weather activity. So there's sunspots, and we are entering solar maximum, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be you know, X flares every day. Right now things are just very calm. 25% chance. I think that's pretty reasonable and generous for these folks to say that there's only a 25% chance of a C flare. It looks about right. There's nothing really coming up around the bend either, far as I can see. But we'll continue to watch it as things evolve. For now, have a good night, folks. We will chat you guys a little bit later. What do we got? 3.6 earthquake out here in the African region. Latest quake. Haven't seen too much activity kicking up there recently. Alrighty, guys. Have a good night. Stay safe out there. I'm going to go take a shower and get all these aphids off of me. I can kind of feel a couple of them crawling on me. Like I said, I had an aphid infection in the gardens today. So me and Missy Mimi's were out there trying to get it under control. It's no joke. It's pretty much a nightmare when those things take over. I'm not even joking. All right, guys. Take care. Stay safe out there and have yourself a glorious night. Peace out.